Welcome to Tao Living, the Art of Living podcast with your host, Lou Corletto, where you will be supported to remember that you are the driver and not the vehicle, so that you can walk your life in trust. My next guest is Antero Joki. He's a 55-year-old Finnish freediver, a freediving instructor, freediving judge, and a freediving event coordinator. Antero has been on the Finnish freediving national team for 17 years and still holds 3 Finnish national records in his name. Regardless of being an ex-cigarette smoker and over 100 kilograms, which is 220 pounds, and not having started freediving until he was 35 years old. When he was at the top of his game, he was ranked 5th in the entire world. Antero currently organizes an annual freediving event under the ice in Finland called Päijänne on the Rocks. His most recent project was to organize Johanna Nordblad's world record attempt, which included the current Netflix documentary production, Hold Your Breath, The Ice Dive. During this production, Antero was responsible for underwater safety, the record track, and the judging for the event. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome my next guest speaker, Mr. Antero Joki. I was blessed to meet this man a few years ago in Italy when, as a fledgling freediver, I attended this event and he was one of the co-instructors. And instantly I had rapport for him before we even physically met. Because one, his presence, he's physically a big man, but he has this huge presence, the energy about him, the smile in his face that comes from his heart. And I'm like, there's something about this guy. There was something else too, was because before some of the dives, he would be at the espresso bar enjoying a coffee before diving occurred. Many of the other divers weren't doing that. They were just drinking water. And I'm like, ooh, I really like this guy. I love coffee. So then we got in the water and I was able to witness this man and his peace with this element of water. Well, then I come to find out I'm hanging out with royalty because he's competed in 15 world championships. He has 3 medals. He holds currently still holds multiple medals, as I mentioned in the bio. In the Finnish freediving world. So also he has just recently, well, it's now out. When did this come out? A month ago? The Netflix documentary? Yeah. So within the last month, and I support everybody watch this documentary. It's absolutely amazing. And it's called Hold Your Breath, The Ice Dive. You can find this on Netflix. It's out and streaming now. And Antero is responsible for the setup of the dive, the alignment, the judging, and most importantly, the safety, meaning like underwater safety. So he's an amazing videographer above and below ground. So this man is multi-talented. And I'm honored and blessed that he chose to come with us today to play and unpack some stuff. So you and I, the listening audience, can learn from this man. So welcome, my friend. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Lou. Well, really nice introduction. I've never heard so many nice words about me, but very much thank you. Nice to hear.
You're quite welcome, sir. And they're all true. They're all true for me, for sure. So let's start with that last piece, which is, wow, there's not too many people get involved in Netflix documentaries, right? So that alone, but the fact that you played so many roles as the organizer of this world attempt, this world record, as the judge, and also responsible for safety. So help people understand who aren't even involved in freediving, like what that entails, what's going on, and how you felt about that.
Well, first of all, I have to thank Johanna Nordblad, the athlete who did the record. We have been friends for many years, and she trusts me and that I know what I'm doing. And she didn't accept anybody else looking after the safety than me. So I was lucky that way that I knew her. Um, I forgot, what did you ask already?
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. Well, first of all, and I'm just gonna jump right off of that, which is, here's an athlete. So again, ladies and gentlemen, one, if you don't know what freediving is, right? So freediving is the sport, the activity where a diver will take a single breath and dive under the water. Sometimes it's vertical, sometimes it's horizontal. In this case, this documentary is about freediving under ice, so freezing cold water. They're literally in northern Finland, where they're cutting out large sections of ice for the diver to go in and then swim. In this case, it was a female diver going after a world record. I'm not going to spoil the end for you. You'll have to watch it. So sitting in freezing cold water is a task in itself. Just sitting in it, swimming in it is a whole different world. And so here is this world-class athlete, as Antero just said, but kind of slightly blew it off, which was, she trusted me with her safety and in an extreme environment, right? That says a lot about you, my friend. It wasn't just like, hey, who's available on Tuesday afternoon? I'm going to do this. I want to do this record. No. Is I want to do this record, and I want to make sure that I've got somebody that I can trust in these extreme conditions. And she chose you. That right there says a lot about who you are as a man, and who you are, and the skill set and the level that you bring to the sport.
And well, you can say that ice diving is kind of even more extreme than normal freediving, because there's just these holes that keep you alive, that you can come out. So rule number one, never go under ice without a line. That's like a Russian roulette, and it's even with only one empty hole in the gun. So it's really stupid to go underwater or under ice without a safety line. But yeah, I've organized the ice freediving event in Finland already now 10 times, which actually started from the joke, but now has developed to be a annual regular event. And first world record, what Johanna did, she tried there in this event. And of course, she has seen how I organize things there every year. She's been involved there most of the time. So she have learned to trust me in that way, that she knows what I'm doing.
Of course, which she does, which is why she chose you, right? So, so before we started recording, ladies and gentlemen, I was asking Antero why he got into freediving. So even though you just shared this with me, would you share that again? Why you got into freediving? What was this incident? Because there's something I want to unpack from there as well.
Yeah, I did scuba almost 10 years before I started freediving, and I did in our pool training some distance diving called dynamic. It was not many who could 75 meters, but I managed to do this a few times. And then I thought, oh, I want to see if I can go further. And of course, I knew that it's potentially dangerous to go so long. So I asked 2 guys to follow me. And yeah, I remember I turned in 75, everything felt fine. I was going forward, then about 90-meter long dive. I had to look where I need to go. Later on, I understood that this was the point I should have surfaced. But then I saw the wall there, and I thought, I'm going there. And I remember I put my hands on the wall, and I thought, freaking 100 meters. And then I don't remember anything. The next time I remember, 4 people were holding my arms and legs. I was sitting by the pool, and I was asking, what are you doing? I had first blackout even. I didn't know what that is. But of course, it told me and showed me how dangerous freediving actually can be. Because if I would be there alone, I would not be here. I would be dead. Because if you have a blackout alone in the water, you die.
You drown.
There's no other solution.
Yes.
So that's why you always need to have safety. And this safety has to be another freediver, not just somebody. So that was quite a big shock for me. because the feeling to leave your life in other people's hands, it's not something I like. So I was sitting in the sauna as a Finn. Sauna is like a sacred place, and you can really go deep in your mind and really study yourself there. So I liked what I was doing, but something I was doing wrong. And at that time, there was no courses to learn how to do freediving correctly. So then I joined to a freediving club and started to learn from more experienced divers how to do it correctly. I have to say I've learned it really, really well, because I have had 2 times only red card because I did overdo my dive. So pretty well I learned that it's quite a good record for a freediver who has been competing 20 years.
To only have 2 cards.
So not very many that can say that only 2 red cards for doing too long, and 1 red card I got because I was so pissed I didn't do a service protocol. I just left. I was so mad about my diving, but that's another story.
So, ladies and gentlemen who are listening, just a couple clarities is, especially for the imperial world, right? So 25-meter pool is the standard length of a large pool where they have swim meets. An Olympic meter pool is 50 meters, right? So in this case, 100 meters, that means he swam underwater now he goes way past this now, but when his story about first attempting to do this, he did 3 laps underwater, 1 breath, and then went for the 4th. And so there's this thing that happens called shallow water blackout when we go too long holding breath and not having, and he was just doing it on his own. There was no training, right? Now, most people, when they do something new and they have an experience like a blackout, they usually go, I'm done, I'm out. Well, here's a guy who sits in the sauna and goes, what did I, how can I keep going and change this, right? So right there shows a difference in mindset. So now that you've been in over 20 years, both as a competitor and a judge and a coach, what are the core nuggets for you around the gift of freediving in a place of mindset? What have you taken from this art to improve your own mindset, and or that you now teach other divers, students, clients?
Well, I would say that diving overall is quite a good way to focus on the present. But even more than scuba, freediving forces you to live in that moment. And then when you go to ice freediving, that even doubles that quality. So it's kind of it's really strong meditation. At least I see it that way. That you have to stay in that moment. Your thoughts cannot go deeper than you are, because then you're not going there. You have to stay where you are. And for many people who are living a very stressful life, have lots of performance pressure in their work and so on, I see freediving would be a really good solution for having a break. Just, you don't have to be any competitive freediver, but when you go underwater, you can't think about work. It forces you to concentrate on you and what you feel exactly right now. And the second thing is coming from this word feeling, is that your brain, it's nothing you can trust what your brain tells you in freediving, because brain wants too much or gives borders. The body knows always what you can do. So you need to trust learning your body and the language what your body tells you in freediving. Right. That's the only way to do it safe.
Beautiful.
And here I want to explain 2 examples. The Finnish freediver Mikko Pöntinen, he's one of the best in the pool, or he was. He's now not active anymore. But it was 2011 Pool World Championships. He did in the finals 30 meters more than his personal best was before, just because he was trusting his feeling. And his dive was the 2nd longest dive in the world at that time. Wow. So it was not a short dive. but he was trusting his feelings. The second good example, same diver, 2016, Pool World Championships in Finland, in no fins final, he was the first who surfaced. And I was making commentary in this live stream there, and I said, Mikko came up so early, and what a disappointment. But he did what he could. He came up, got the white card, and the so-called good divers, they continued. But so many got blackouts or other disqualification that he got the bronze medal. Clever boy.
Great story.
Yeah.
To make the
and true
point, yes, to keep pushing.
Yeah. But that's exactly, he knew when to come out because he was trusting what the body is telling, not the brain, what the brain wants.
That we could spend the next 3 hours unpacking just that thought. Learning to trust the wisdom of the body because the body does not lie versus the signals we think we're getting from the brain.
Yeah, right? That's really important skill to separate what your brain is telling and what's coming from your body.
Right. And so again, ladies and gentlemen, listen, this is a skill for walking life, right? It's imperative skill in freediving, but it's a skill for walking in life. Most people have learned to disconnect from the sensations of their body and only trust what's going up in the cranium. And that's definitely not a great way to walk through life by any means. So this is a powerful gift. So thank you for bringing this up. You also reminded me before we went live that when I was, as I shared earlier to the listening audience, when I was in Italy in this training, the lead instructor there, Umberto Prelazzati, so he was known for making the statement that scuba divers go down and look around, but freedivers go down and look within. And it's a simple but profound statement that really drives this point that Antero was speaking about. And again, I share this, we're having this conversation from his expertise in the world of freediving, but it applies to life. So the podcast is the art of living, right? So what can we take from any endeavor to keep moving our lives forward more profoundly, more fulfilling, and learning to be present in the present moment? What a gift that we can apply to our lives, right? To learn to trust the messages of the body versus the signals of the brain. What a different way to walk our life, right? So these are all coming from the world of freediving that this expert is giving to us. So the distinction about going down, so the phrase going down to look within. What is that aspect of breath holding that causes us to do that? So for people who apply a breath hold, freedivers, what's occurring when we need to look within?
Well, first, I would like to remind you all that breathing really is the foundation of life, all our health. It's coming through breathing. I remember a funny story when I was a young boy. We had a summer house, and there we had this outhouse, and there were sometimes Reader's Digest to read when you had your business there. So once I found a story about breathing, and it was discussed on how you should breathe with your belly. And I was under 10 years old. I probably was then when I was reading this there. And I started practicing this belly breathing at that time and continued ever on. And it was so funny for me when I realized, when I started freediving, that, hey, I picked this up when I was young boy, and that's the correct way to do. That I was lucky to find this kind of story. I don't know, was it meant that I need to find this story that I will become a freediver or what? But because after I've been wondering, because I've been smoking cigarettes and I have asthma, and I'm still a good freediver, and it has to be something to do with the correct breathing. Because not any other way I don't see. I'm not physically different. I'm totally having normal size of lungs in my size of European person. So I don't have any physical conditions that should be like a benefit in freediving. I have big belly and small hands, and still I could have been doing quite good free dive no fins, which you swim only with your arms and legs, and that's kind of a surprise again. But still, breathing is the foundation of all health. That's what I think. And you just need to focus on this filling your lungs every time effectively. Then it helps you in many cases. And also breathing is the way to relax. All kind of relaxation programs, they are based on breathing. A certain system, inhale and slowly exhale, and that's how you relax. And you just need to find the right way to you. But freediving is really powerful for that because it's all based on breathing. And then, of course, when you go on breath hold, that changes your physiology, because normally we breathe out all the carbon dioxide. We don't have this gas in our body in a big amounts. But when you're freediving, you are not breathing out. So all the carbon dioxide stays in your body. And that's probably why many people believe that they are not good in freediving. Because first time you get high level of carbon dioxide, it feels really terrible. And even I'd been training many years, but if I had a longer break and I start doing so-called apnea training again, and I get higher levels of carbon dioxide, I get easily headache in the first few times. It's just the gas. Your body doesn't understand how to handle it. But it's only a small time training that your body understands, it's just carbon dioxide. And it's not disturbing anymore. You can compare if somebody has been drinking alcohol sometimes. You can think that first time you drank alcohol, really small amount was making me dizzy already. But if you drink it regularly, then you can drink a lot. It's the same with carbon dioxide. When you are training and give regularly carbon dioxide to your body, it adapts. And it's getting easier, more comfortable, softer. It's not so hard feeling. But of course, it requires a little bit work.
Yes, it does. So I really, appreciate you opening up that door, because it's a current theme in the podcast, which is breath, because it is the basis of life. When people think, well, look, if you question if breath is important, just stop it. Like
some freedivers have tried
just stop
that,
it, period. Right?
They managed more than 10 minutes.
You'll find out how important it was. Right. And even that for me, taking for granted. And then as I've worked with cetaceans, so the dolphin, for the listening audience, the dolphins and whales and the entire species, they're conscious breathers. They don't have the inability to go unconscious, whereas humans have the ability to do both, voluntary and involuntary. And so when I started to just dabble and learn about this aspect of working consciously with breath, and then studying the aspects of yoga and seeing the yoga masters in their philosophy behind it, which is the mind masters the senses, but the breath masters the mind. So back to trusting our body, not trusting the brain. And that breath itself, how we utilize it, informs our body. Are we safe? Are we under threat? So the rate and the rhythm and the way we breathe keeps us stressed out or in peace. And as Antero was just saying, he just slid it in there. But the simplicity of a deep in breath into the belly, right? So here's people like, well, I don't know how to watch any baby that hasn't been traumatized. They're all diaphragmatically breathing because it's our innate healthy breath. We've learned over time, or this is at least my experience, you correct me if I'm not accurate, I believe the human species is because of stress over time, we stopped belly breathing or diaphragmatically breathing and go to chest breathing, which is inefficient because it's stress and fight and flight.
Well, I think the worst time for humankind was when women were wearing the corsets and they couldn't breathe. But it was just for beauty, so.
So in that since breath is on the table, oftentimes I'm guessing, I won't assume, I'm guessing that as not only a competitor but also an instructor in and out of the sport around breath, that most people don't even realize that they're not breathing properly. I know I sure didn't, because I'm like, well, of course I'm breathing. I'm alive, aren't I? And I have what I now refer to, which is a biological breath. I'm inhaling and exhaling to survive, but I'm not really breathing. Therefore, I'm not thriving. I'm just surviving. And so how do you, when you come across people that you know that are not accurately breathing, or at least to their full capacity, yet they think that they are, how do you help them bridge that gap? Is it communication? Is it just giving them an experience in their body? Like, hey, try this. Let me know if you have a difference. Again, be it a competitor or just a lay person.
I don't think you can just give one way to do things, because we are so individual, all of us. So you have to take a different approach for different kind of people. But normally, it's just you really let them relax, and mostly it's quite easy to build a trust because you are the instructor. And well, basically, I think my records and so on, they tell people that, yeah, I guess this guy knows what he's doing. So they trust me and they believe me when I tell. First thing, of course, what we do in the practice is the breath hold in the water. And that's already a big surprise. People don't believe what they can achieve easily. But it's just relaxation. Mostly we are just too tense all the time. And relaxation is really, really the key in all freediving, in my eyes. But I don't have any magic word how to make somebody breathe correctly. It's just slowly to see where there maybe be something to improve, and so on. So this focus in your mind goes there, then it improves. But of course, most of the time it takes a little bit of time.
Beautiful. Thank you. And so, ladies and gentlemen, one of the great gifts that he shared a few minutes ago, which was that calming breath, which is to extend the exhale, right? So that basic ratio of a 2-to-1, which is what, let's say when you inhale, maybe a count of 4 or 5, then you would double that on the exhale, or attempt to double it. And so now the exhale is longer and slower, and it affects what's called the parasympathetic part of the nerve system, which is the rest and digest. It calms us down. When we breathe fast and shallow, which is the stress state, that jacks up the sympathetic nervous system, and it keeps us in the stress state. And so that's just one aspect of when I was sharing about the way we breathe informs our body. Are we safe? Are we not? So you might be in an environment that's safe, but your breath is informing your body that you're not. So you're creating conflicting information for your own self about where you're at. So these are tools that we get to apply by incorporating the conscious use of our breath. So
yeah, and
please.
For example, every time when I go diving, the last minute I do always the same. So I inhale 3 times and exhale. So I inhale like 5 seconds and then exhale 15. So it's even longer, the exhale time. But it's basically every time the routine, what I do before I dive, and there was no conscious thoughts that I choose this way. It was like a subconscious idea. Hey, this might work, and I realized that that really helps me. So I keep doing that, and really quickly it became a routine that already told my body that, hey, soon we are diving because this guy is doing again this dive. So it's a reflex already before the dive starts. My body knows that we are going to dive. So it helps also that way to calm me down and relax.
So tagging off of that, building off of this, as you were diving for years, and as you mentioned, so free diving is definitely considered an extreme sport, especially as people are pushing the limits.
Yeah, well, any sport is extreme when you are pushing the limits, but
Yeah,
because
100%, right?
I'm really not fan of extreme connected to freediving. Of course, the results what people are doing for the layman, it's something unbelievable. But the problem is that people have every person has this type response in them, in their body, just sleeping. We haven't been using it.
Yeah.
So when you wake it up, it makes you do things you couldn't believe. It is really simple as that. It's no magic.
And so, ladies and gentlemen, what Antero is just referring to is this is it's an innate response. It's already in our system and it's dormant. We've left it asleep. And by choosing to do some of these actions, putting your face in cold water, holding your breath, it starts to activate what's already present. Then yes, we can develop it by consistently and appropriately challenging under proper supervision. We can expand this innate gift that's already sitting there. I remember the first time I went to my first course. I was on the way down, I'm driving, and I was even practicing like, okay, how long can I hold my breath? And whatever it was, 60 seconds, right? And I get done that afternoon, just that afternoon, no difference. I didn't gain weight. I didn't get any healthier or fitter, 3 minutes. And my head was just going, how is that possible? Right? Because I'm like, when he said we're going to do 3 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, I guess I'll have to come back next month. I can't do 60 seconds. And it was simply some mindset stuff and then some basic technique. And same afternoon. And I was personally just blown away that was even possible. Holy smokes. One afternoon, how is that possible? Like, I'm holding my breath.
I'm sorry, I have to spoil your fun, but you are not the only one. There's several people feeling exactly the same.
Yeah.
And that's how it happens.
Right.
It is so rewarding in giving courses. And then guys, they say, no, this is 2 minutes is the limit you should achieve. And no, I've never had 2 minutes. No, let's just keep trying to, because normally in the first level, of course, I never give any time. I just give people understanding that, well, this absolutely is not your maximum. It's just a feeling what you get. So you can explore more and more and more. And then suddenly they are doing 3 minutes, 3.5, and they are just blown. But that's so nice to see this all in their eyes. Did I do that?
Yeah. Well, you just performed a miracle, right? I'm like, hold on.
This stopwatch is lying.
Yeah. Did you fake that watch? Right. So yes. So ladies and gentlemen that are listening, this isn't all of us, right? And there's beautiful ways to practice this and very safe, especially above water, right? As he's already mentioned before, is don't ever do any breath hold in the water without an appropriate supervision. It's just asking for serious trouble. And many even professional divers who don't follow that have ended up dying because they pushed the limits and they didn't have somebody there as a backup, right? So, but there's safe ways to do it on the land. As you learn to do breath holds, it's still great to have a coach with you as well. What I'd like to continue taking down this road is that step from freediving in basic regular temperatures, thermals, and then that next world of stepping into ice diving. What is that next level of requirement of mindset, of body physiology? What happens for the diver to be able to take that next step?
Well, there's 2 different ways to go. First is with a wetsuit. That's what I prefer. And there it's just a little bit discomfort. When you go in the water, you can feel the frozen, really cold water around your mouth area. But otherwise, you have gloves. There's neoprene all over you, and then after 1 minute, it's numb what you feel. So that doesn't change much of the diving if you're going with the suit. You can enjoy under ice freediving quite comfortably. And in Finland, I have to remind, we have sauna always warm on the shore. So you can go and warm up there and come back again. But when you go without a suit, then it's not only the breath hold what you need to control, you need to control the cold water. So you need to get adapted for that, as well as you need to get adapted for the carbon dioxide in your breath hold, because the cold water, it's well, you could say that when you are long enough, it's always pain. Like you can say that when you are holding your breath till the end, it's never comfortable in the end. It's getting worse. But still, it's a lot of mindset. And in Johanna's case, she had a big trauma before. She was downhill biking. Well, you can see this and hear everything in this documentary. So probably I should not go this all through. But anyway, one cure was the cold water, and then she slowly started to get more and more involved with the cold water, and then it became her world, and that's how she started. But there are other people who haven't had this big trauma, but they slowly go into cold water. Actually, in Finland, it's quite common that people are swimming in the ice water. It's known to be good for your health. But ice diving, it's another thing. So not many people do that. But still, it's a totally different aspect of freediving, because you have to control these two quite hard feelings. So your mind has to be really, really in control, because we all have this brain monkey. And if we are not giving enough bananas for it, it gets totally crazy, and it just yells that you have to come out, and then you come out, and then it's there. But the mind control is really important. And of course, when you do really long time in the ice water, hypothermia is also potential danger. So you need to understand how long you can stay in the ice cold water, because there is a limit. You cannot stay forever.
And in Johanna's case, during this record, so ladies and gentlemen, I'll have the link to the documentary in the show notes under this episode. And in Johanna's case, she was swimming so no fins.
Just in a swimming suit.
Yeah. In a swimsuit, right? So that was 103 meters.
Yep.
Woo!
What was that? 240 about that time. So it's a not terribly long time, but because you are not really doing really active muscle work, so you are losing a lot of heat from your body even this time. Less than 3 minutes, it will not make you hypothermic. It makes you cold. But if you stay 10 minutes, oh boy, you can be really badly hypothermic already. So this is also something you should not play with unless you understand what you can, and never alone as well.
So Antero, I know something that's important to you as well right now is what's occurring in the world around people starting to focus just on the me syndrome. Like I started watching this when the electronics came out, people getting lost in the phone, and starting for even simply that was me. So I'll put on my phone, I'll put it on speaker, and I'll just talk really loud to the speaker, not paying attention to the people around me. They might not really want to hear my conversation or the person on the other side of this, right? So I've lost respect of my environment, the people around me, because I was becoming selfish. And for me, I started to know this more self-centeredness of humanity, right? And I, as you've shared, that's got a charge for you too. So if you would please unpack what you're seeing right now as because you travel the world, what's going on, what you see, and in your heart, what do you think we can do as individuals to reconnect into the greater support and love of each other, and help heal humanity?
Oh boy, I wish I would have a really clear answer for that we could really get all to in this kind of mode. But I think first thing is that we still need to trust each other. So I understand sometimes it's really hard because there's lots of fake calls, or somebody wants to con your money about some application, whatever. There's so many different ways that you can be cheated on in some kind of electric connection with something. But then again, then you have to remember that when you are dealing with humans directly, first thing it should be there is a trust until proven otherwise. Because if we don't trust each other, then I think it's really difficult to build anything as a team. But we are one team on this small ball in the universe. It's one team. It's nothing else. We don't have, well, somebody's aiming to Mars, but I don't think that it will improve anything if we don't change our mindset. It will be conflicts there as well. So just trust yourself and trust the neighbor first. Don't think that somebody is now taking something from me instantly. And friendliness is always free. You don't lose anything when you're friendly to somebody and you smile. There's nothing away from you. Some good words. Hey, you did well. Good work, buddy. It costs nothing, but it can really mean a lot for the other person.
Kindness goes a long way.
Yes.
Yes, sir. So one of the things I often share both on the podcast, but also with my clients or students, which is that question of who's writing your script, meaning who's writing your story about how you live your life. And there's too many industries that, especially in the past few years, about teaching us to be afraid of everything, your neighbor, yourself, the world, the environment. And you know, there's so back to, that's not going to help us at all. That's only going to end up in a really bad place if we keep listening to that narrative versus the beautiful wisdom that was just shared. One, learn to trust yourself, and then start trusting those around you until proven otherwise, right? I love that. Don't continue afterwards. And how can we do that? By being kind, by smiling, by those random acts of kindness. You pay for the coffee for the person behind you. Who knows? That person could have such a hard, miserable day. They might want to go home and harm themselves. Yet somebody took a simple act of kindness, and that intervention, that action, stopped them from doing something bad to themselves. We don't know what's going on in somebody's cranium, but we do know that any act of love and kindness and compassion and happiness can only move them forward. So as Antero just said, you have nothing to lose by showing up in that way, but we have everything to gain by doing so.
And somehow that's even stronger available in social media. If you are spending time in your phone, please tell only good stuff. Because it's so easy to go there. You don't see anybody and you are building up negative things or telling negative things about somebody or against something. But for what? It's not going to improve anything. But if you are encouraging good stuff, that might help.
Just hearing the stats of the amount of teen suicide, especially in this country, in the US, from social media, they have a new term in psychology, cyberbullying, because of this level of attack and negativism and judgments and verbal abuse, that kids are taking their own lives because of that. It's just, to me, it's incomprehensible. Yet it's real and it's occurring, right? So yes, so much is going on. Like in this country, again, we've got 40 some odd veterans every single day that are taking their lives. And so back to the connection to the beginning, what we started, the greatest thing they're finding for veterans to come out of suicidal tendencies and or their PTSD is breath. Teaching them, learning how to do appropriate breathing has been proven at the highest level this is the best thing for them, better than all the meds, better than any other the approaches that are giving to them. And ladies and gentlemen, listen, you got to remember, your breath is free. It's free. It is with you 24/7. We've just, most people, I did, because it is there, and because we have that process as humans where it's a involuntary, that's the only way most people use it. And by allowing your breath to be unconscious, you're being breathed, which allows you to do, which is most people, we live in the past or the present. We don't stay here. But when you participate by utilizing your breath in a conscious way, choosing to breathe, involution, to, they call it inspiration for a reason, right? Because you're bringing in your spirit to inspire. You're bringing in that love and that life and that joy that you are, which keeps you here and now. So you can respond to life, not react to life. So breath is so overrated. So I choose to honor this man's time. We've been on here yapping for a bit. So as an expert in breath, what would you like to close with the people? What gems or support or suggestion in connection to breath, in connection to health, in connection to this last piece you shared about let's show up in a trusting way and add more love and kindness to the equation to do our part in the world.
Stay calm, breathe through your belly. And if you want to be a great person, be kind, because only bullies are small persons.
Very nice. Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, you can look in the show notes here. I have Antero's contact information. Reach out to this man. Check him out on social media, speaking on social media, because you'll have nothing but positive experiences there. You can see some clips from his dives, clips from his personal dives, ice diving, regular competitions, and some of his beautiful photography. If you would like to tap into the world of freediving, reach out to him to either connect with him directly, or I'm sure he will help you find appropriate schooling where you may be. And join the list to join me to head to Finland to do some ice diving, and we can all grow together. Yes. So Antero, thank you so much for your time, my friend. I appreciate you're taking your time out of your day, your life, your schedule to share with us, to share with me. And I appreciate who you are, and I'm grateful that you're in my life and who you are and what you bring to the world. So thank you so much, my friend.
Thank you very much, Lou. And I have to say that we had the mutual connection in the Y40 when we met first time. So it was not just me who made the influence on you, you made influence on me. So thank you very much that we got connected there, and we still share something in life. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you for tuning in to the Tao Living Podcast, The Art of Living. Now go to loucorletto.com, LOUCORLETO.com, to receive your free training, the operator's manual for your vehicle. See, when you buy a phone, you get a manual. When you buy a car, you get a manual. When you entered your body, no manual. Let me teach you how it's really designed to work. Also, help me help others and share this podcast far and wide, and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Until next time, abundant blessings.